Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. So we are getting closer to a bottom, in my opinion. We've been looking at Bitcoin recently and crypto in general, and I've said, look, we sold out of our CRV position specifically. I said Bitcoin probably comes into and reverses from this bubble area that I just drew in freehand yesterday because of where the daily supply is. Look, and so essentially, what we're looking at is Bitcoin reversing from this sort of area. We are in that zone now between 84 and like 80ish K. I'm going to show you some other confluence for this now. I'm going to just discuss news first. So Dan Tapiero talks about how it's unlikely a recession is coming when the Fed has got so much room to cut, but we're in like the probability of recession calculated from the yield curve like the highest since like the 80s. However, what Dan Tapiero is saying is, look, we've got 400 basis points of cutting if needed, so the Fed can really loosen policy if we get to a position where growth is slow. They can just essentially increase liquidity, and that's when Bitcoin will rocket. That's what he's saying there. And in the wider term, we have like the FDIC dropping rules for banks to get pre-approval before engaging in crypto, so they can now basically just engage in crypto if they want to. So I think that a lot of things are, as I said, the foundations are being built, and we're getting closer and closer to this liquidity injection, which could really kickstart the crypto rally. If you times that by this post here from Cointelegraph saying that stablecoin trading volume among the top 10 has dropped to a quarter of last month's bull cycle, and analysts cite regulatory uncertainty and that Bitcoin supply is a 7-year low on exchange as a key factor. Basically, it's saying there's not much activity at the minute, and people have stable coins, and Bitcoin's at a 7-year low on exchanges. So what do you think happens as soon as activity returns and there's no Bitcoin on exchanges? Less supply plus the same amount of activity or more, and more liquidity incoming. That's how you can really see these things start to move heavily or very fast to the upside. And that times by Raoul Pal's like M2 money supply correlation with Bitcoin and where he thinks it's going to be. He's pretty much putting us in the same zone as me, and I've just written extra about that in this week's newsletter, which is actually out tomorrow, talking about my relationship or my views on the relationship between Bitcoin, the DXY, gold, and some other aspects to give us that more macro foundation. I also talk about stable coins and what I'd be investing in if you believe in my stablecoin thesis. So definitely go and check out the weekly newsletter. In a technical sense, I wouldn't be surprised if we come down to this like 82 level because of the liquidity here. Yes, we do have this liquidity all the way down below us, but as we showed yesterday, if we really zoom out, we can see that the main liquidity is above us. Just on the shorter time frame, it does look like there's more below. However, I would be surprised. Like, it's not impossible for us to come down here and take this, but if you look at the difference in liquidity above us to what it is below, I would be surprised if we go much further down than like this 82.5. Yeah, maybe we can come into this area here, but as you can see, let me just get into like a smaller time frame, like a clear vision on this small time frame here. Here we go. As you can see, like when we come lower into these areas, what I said would happen is liquidity above us would become more dense, which it is, as people jump into shorts as they think price is going to continue downwards. We probably flush out these positions here. As I said, maybe we come a little bit further to like this area, maybe not. Maybe it's just into this sort of like 82k bounce up towards 97. That would really catch everyone off guard, in my opinion. Kind of lines up with what I've been looking at over here for alts as well. XRP, what did I say yesterday? We're in the DCA zone if we're in this grey box, and if we get offered anything lower to like this below basically 189, that's where I'm looking to leverage myself. CRV, on the daily time frame, I've actually moved my bids up to about 41 cent, 41.1 cent, and I'll show you why in 1 second. Basically, this area here is probably the key area. Where's my box? Oh, here we go. This area here is what I'm looking at as like a key area of like for us to basically bounce from. This is where like structure was broken to the upside, so there will be support in this grey box. And if we can get all the way to the bottom of it and we can fill the whole box, that'd be perfect. and that's why I'm 41.1. I might move my bids up a little more just in case, because we don't necessarily have to fill this whole box. Just this is the area that I'd be expecting us to bounce from for CRV, and then the next move probably takes us up towards this 80 odd cent. So I might cut off a few percent on the downside for the potential for like 100% move. I think that's probably sensible. That's where I'm looking to place bids. So I might go a bit higher, maybe like the 42 to 43 cent range, to try and get those bids filled, and proceed with this rally up to at least the 80 cent. This, remember, is spot bags. CRV is having that cool off now, so maybe we get down there a little bit further, or I'm not sure. So I'm going to move my bids up probably to like 42, 43 cent. ENA is another one that we've been watching. I think this is an accumulation area here, obviously with the RSI increasing and price basically is chopping about, showing that momentum has changed to the downside, and is starting to tick back up again. We've looked at XRP. We haven't looked at ETH yet. ETH is another one, but I actually think ETH looks kind of weak. It might have a little bit further to go to the downside, but not too much. It might just come back and retest this, like, say, 1700 level. It just depends how aggressive Bitcoin makes the move today and what effect that has across the wider market. We've got our bids in on CRV. I've showed you ENA as well. These are the ones that I'm watching right now, and I've also showed you XRP. Technically speaking, there's not too much to talk about aside from that. Like, I've just been slowly monitoring things and monitoring news. It's more about the news, waiting for and seeing all these fundamentals continue to roll in, and then just waiting for a catalyst. I've talked about in my newsletter that comes out tomorrow some potential catalysts and what you can expect to see. So go and check that out if you want to understand where I'm coming from there. Bitcoin dominance continues to not confuse us, but to not really make a decision. It's just sort of chopping. We potentially are about to break out to the upside on Bitcoin dominance, which is why I talked about potentially alts, ETH, XRP, pulling down maybe a bit further than Bitcoin percentage-wise. Bitcoin dominance would support that if we do have this break to the upside, and this could be the final push for Bitcoin dominance. Although I discussed many times, do we get the move up to 67%? I really don't know. So definitely monitoring this, and this is why DCA in those areas for XRP is going to be good, and for CRV is going to be good, and DNA and even ETH if we get those them opportunities to buy. And if we come a bit further down, as I said, that's when I'll be adding a bit more risk probably to my portfolio with some leverage trades in there as well. So you can pretty much understand exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and where from. Link was the other one, wasn't it, that we looked at yesterday. Again, it's still got probably like a few percent to come down. Let's see what this is. Could be anywhere between like 7 and 12% to come down. And like I showed you ENA, and it doesn't seem like a very big move from where it is, but still percentage-wise, it's quite a heavy pullback. Like, if we get the pullback to like 40s, it's like another 11% to the downside from here. Whereas for Bitcoin, the low that we are looking at isn't much at all. Like, if we go to like, say, 82, which is what I said, 81.3 is only 3%, but you might see 11% in something like CRV. So that's what we're looking at. That's what I'm looking at anyway. Could be wrong, of course, but they're the areas I'm looking at. The areas I'm going to be buying. My money's where my mouth is. I've got the bids in already, and as I said, I'm going to probably move that 41 cent bid up to about 42, 43. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did and you learned something, or you think there's good value here, obviously don't charge you anything. Please do hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, hit the like button, and ask me any questions you've got in the comments below. For more in-depth explanations on some stuff, read my newsletter tomorrow. I also discuss stablecoins in there, and I discuss what I think will benefit from stablecoin regulation, and where I'm going to be putting some capital. If you enjoyed, as I said, please do share. Peace up, 8 down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.